Hey, what's up? This is Gary from Mirage Rentals. Back in 1988, the original Ninja Turtles toy line began, and it hooked all of us like some sort of highly addictive plastic drug. And as I was coming down from my super excitement, Playmates hooked me for life when they released Wave 2 in 1989. So many awesome new characters, and my favorite back then was probably Metalhead. A robot Ninja Turtle? I need that! He was a sight to be seen, and he was covered in such crazy detail. I just used to stare at him back then and wonder, what does this do? What's this over here? So when Super7 announced Metalhead in Wave 3 of their Ninja Turtle Ultimates line, I couldn't wait to pre-order this guy. And then I had to wait, and wait, and wait for him to arrive. 13 months to be exact. The longest wait so far of all the Ninja Turtle Ultimates waves. Wave 1 took about 10 months, and Wave 2 took about 12 months. So, let's open this guy up already. I'm really hoping that they were able to capture all the detail that I loved from way back when. When they released Mutant Man, they really copied everything like verbatim almost. So I'm hoping that all of that detail is on this guy, and it's very distinct and, just looks awesome. I already know that his shell doesn't have like that, vac metal gold look, but, as long as it's painted and it looks all good and it's not all scuffed, and all the, like I said, the doodads and all the gadgetry and stuff like that is present on his body. And we're going to, compare this guy to the original and see if they left anything out or if they added anything. As long as all that's present or most of it's present, I will be a happy camper. So on the front here, let's take this out of the bag so we get rid of that glare. These plastic bags, it's like you really have to work to get your action figure here. It's like as if you didn't wait long enough. Now I got to wait even longer to rip open that bag. Come on. All right, so on the front here, you have a manhole cover, and it's got Metalhead's face. That's pretty cool. And then you have like I don't know what, is that supposed to be like his finger? Like he's shooting a laser out of his finger? Or is that some other thing that's included here that's shooting that beam there? Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe those weapons are supposed to be like the Robo chucks. Like you have the strap going to the actual part you hit people with. All right. And on the back, you just have the logo, and it just says what every other one says. Contents: one figure with accessories. So this is the first time I'm opening them up, and that's pretty awesome looking. So, like I said, I'm looking at everything over. I really like how large most of these accessories are. It is really awesome when you look at these things and you realize just how big they are compared to the original ones. A lot of things that I remember from that toy, just in my head, I can see are already present. And he looks really cool. The thing with Metalhead for me is I like that he's sort of ambiguous. Like he could either be a good guy or a bad guy. And, I do like him on the larger side. But this looks pretty awesome, and yeah, I like the brick packaging too for these Ultimates figures. The good guys have green brick, and the bad guys have a blue brick. The back of the box says Metalhead, the original party robot. Designed as Krang's ultimate weapon against the Turtles, Metalhead was reprogrammed by Donatello to serve the side of good. This chrome-plated sewer servant's eyes light up when you hold him up to the light. That's pretty awesome, too. I'm glad, it really makes me happy that they were able to include that feature that the original one had. And I can't wait to just even look at, the brains. I always loved that on the original toy, that you could see, his red brains. I don't know. Something about that, it's one of those things that kind of weirds you out as a kid, but you're also like, brains, cool. So, always the life of the party, Metalhead can whip up a whipped cream and jelly bean pizza, serve sodas, display video games, that's pretty cool, or rock the sewer with tunes from his jazzed-up jukebox. When trouble's brewing, Metalhead becomes one annoyed android and dishes out trouble with his Robo chucks. and Foot Blaster, and that's awesome too. I'm glad that they actually mentioned some of the items inside of this action figure or inside of this package. You know, lots of times they don't mention any of the accessories, so I'm glad they're giving you some names here. Because when I was a kid, I didn't even know that those were supposed to be Robo Chucks. I thought they were like an antenna or something like that. Here he is, the brand new Super 7 Ultimates Metalhead, free from his bubbly prison. Right off the bat, I want to say that I think this guy looks great, you know. I think he's really cool. I think he's a really good upgrade of that original 1989 action figure. However, I do want to mention that, you know, I don't know if every Metalhead is like this or just mine, but, you know, he's got that portable party pack on his back, you know, this big giant green contraption, and that makes him very top heavy. And for some reason, my Metalhead has extremely loose hips. So you really got to be careful with how you are trying to balance him when you want him to stand. Well, hello from the future. Now, I'm recording this after I finished the video, but I just wanted to add this because as I was posting this throughout the making of this video, you know, he became looser and looser and looser. Not the shoulders; those are still super tight, but the legs. My goodness, the legs. It is really difficult to get him into any kind of stands whatsoever because he just slips and slides like all over the place. So like it's a bummer. You're pretty much going to only be able to set up his legs one certain way unless yours are tighter than mine. And you know, in general, you're not going to really want to bend his knees because of these wires in the back. So unfortunately, like this you know, this loose leg syndrome or whatever you want to call it, you know, it's a real big negative for this figure. Other than that, you know, like, as I said, probably before and after I made this little section, like, the detail on this figure is great, but these loose hips are just killing me. So, there has been some talk and some controversy about this brand new Metalhead action figure. You know, the original one from 1989 had a vac metal shell, so a lot of people were hoping that this brand new Metalhead would have a vac metal shell. Instead, they decided to paint the shell with this like metallic gold, which I think looks really cool. You know, I do understand the appeal and the coolness of that vac metal shell, but I do want to say this right off the bat. One of the negative or downsides of having this vac metal shell is that you lose a lot of like the detail because of the glare. The hot spots are so bright on here. It's like you really have to look at this thing. Like you really have to study it to make out what all these cool shapes and objects are. But on this brand new one, because it's not so shiny and it just has this metallic paint, you can make out all these details just fine, which I think is cool. You know, I think it really helps to show off the sculpt. However, on the negative side, this paint is very thick, and it's almost kind of soft too. Like the shell itself is soft and the paint is soft. So like when I was trying to pull off this piece right here, I was trying to grab it like this, and I accidentally just like stuck my nail into the paint, and I like scraped it. So that sucks. You know, that's no good. You want like paint that's, you know, sturdy enough that your nail, and I don't even have much of nail, but you know, you don't want to, you know, damage it so easily. So just be careful with this guy. I'm trying to be very careful with how I handle this the shell here. I'm going to go into all the details in a very thorough comparison, a very obsessive and unnecessary comparison of the brand new Metalhead and the original one. But I can say this, that after taking a quick glance, you know, every detail is present. The only thing is that some of Metalhead's body is proportioned a little differently than the original one. So some of the bits and pieces have had to been like adjusted to fit the new body shape. You know, that's fine. Some things I think actually look a little better, but also some things I think look a little like too uniform or perfect. Like even though every detail is present, there's like less contrast. So like the design feels a little safe. But you know, like this is not like me complaining necessarily. This is just like kind of like me just being nitpicky, because I think that Super 7 is doing a really awesome job of trying to capture and copy those original designs. So you might as well, like, you know, point out all the consistencies and inconsistencies. Like I said, be careful with this guy's shell, because even when I pulled these pieces off, some of the paint transferred onto these. Luckily, the holes, they're not like damaged on the outside, but you can definitely see inside that there's a little bit of like a little bit of wear. All right, so we're going to start with the head and work our way down as best as we can. There's a lot to go over here, but I'm going to try to do it as quickly as I possibly can, and I swear I won't stall, and I hope I don't dilly-daddle, and, I hope this video isn't really, really long, so, we might as well, what do you call it? Get started, okay? All right, so if you look at the face here, right? Every single etch and every single shape that was on the original Metalhead is present. Some of the proportions are a little different, but they did a really good job of matching everything. Even under the chin, you still have that block there. The nose has the same kind of shapes or design. The side of the head is all the same. The back of the head, they did a great job. Like I said, it's just proportions are a little different for some spots. Now, one thing I will say is that, you have this like brim or this visor, whatever you want to call this yellow piece above his eyes. On the original one, that top lip, like, extends a little, like it's wider, like these angles kind of come down towards the end of the eyes, where this brand new one, they kind of like go to the middle of the eyes. That's one of those things where, like, I think that the proportion is a little better on the original one. I think the design just looks a little better, but that's a nitpicky thing, and you might not even care. So if you look at the original head, there's actually like pupils in the eyes. Let's see. So I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's actually pupils there. This brand new one, the eyeballs are just completely flat, which is fine. Like, the pupils thing is not a deal breaker or anything like that for me. The brain on top of the head looks awesome. The detail in the brain looks really good too. I always loved the brain on the original Metalhead. I always thought it was like such a cool thing. Like, I got this when I was like 5 years old or something like that. And it's just like one of those things where you're 5 and you're like, oh, you could see his brain. Like, that's so gross. That's awesome. Yeah, the translucent plastic inside of his head, his eyes and the brain, that must be like a lot more translucent or something than this brand new one, because the light shines through the eyeballs so easily on this original one, and this brand new one, you really kind of have to like angle it. Let's see. There you go. But, I mean, look, Metalhead is just kind of standing here at this original one, and the eyes are just glowing. It's picking up all the light around it. If you look at the shells, the brand new shell looks pretty awesome. The original shell, like the front of the plaster in here, I think kind of comes down a little too low compared to the Ninja Turtles. Like, it's a little lower than it should be. So, like, above the collarbone here, you have like these like wires, and you have like these vents and stuff like that. I think on this brand new one, the top of the front of the shell is I don't know, it's better. It's more in line of where a turtle would have it, for some kind of reference. Here's Leo. I mean, I don't know. Leo's, I think his is up higher. I don't know. I just think Metalhead's is a little lower. It's not necessarily something I even really noticed or paid that much attention to when I was a kid, but I do think it looks a little low. And I think on this one, it looks pretty good. The highlights on the original Metalhead are so bright that it's hard to make out all the details on the shell. So I'm going to try to do as best as I can to point them out or try to show them here. So, you have like these like little holes here, you have this vent here, and you have this cool like square shape. It's not a square because it's got 5 sides, but whatever. So that's all cool. That is all on the original one. Even the like the bumps that like point out and all of the edges of this thing, or the angles, they are on the original one and they are on this brand new one. So that's pretty cool. This where his abs would be. This original one is completely flat underneath this belt. There's no design underneath there whatsoever. So they had to add this, and I think it looks good. I think these holes look good. And this little tiny detail up top here is on the original one. Now, what I do think that they did was because the belt covers up this bottom piece. You see how like there's this piece down here. You kind of have like circles, and you have like a I was gonna say a vertical shaft, but it's like a vertical group of bumps, and then you kind of have another one over here. I think that they just kind of took this piece and like extended it and put it up here above this belt. You know, I think that's what they kind of did here. Even like the bottom of the shell, the original one, it has a much more sharper design. Like it really comes down at an angle here and then kind of comes down to here. So you have this like little bolt here right where these pieces connect, and then you have this bolt down at the bottom. Now down on this brand new one, you don't have those sharp angles, right? You just kind of have a very soft curve. So they just kind of put this bolt here just to kind of have it so that they would, you know, have that original design there. And then they put this bolt down here, which is, you know, it kind of matches. Now you can't remove Metalhead's belt, but you can see that he does have like those circles underneath the belt that is present on the original design. See how you have those circles there? So this belt here is very thin compared to the original one. I kind of prefer a bigger belt on him, but I think that this looks fine. I think because they made it thinner, like certain details had to be changed a little bit. I don't know. Like you have like all these little lines going across this direction. You only have like 3 on this original one. You have the T on this belt. Now, what does T stand for? Does it just stand for Turtlebot or what? Here on the side, the original one had 2 grenades, except they were black. And on this brand new one, you have 2 grenades, and they actually look like they're shaped, you know. They actually look like real grenades that are connected to his belt. So that's pretty cool, you know. That's a nice upgrade. On the back here, there is a oil can, you know, like the Tin Man. And if you come all the way over here, you have a funnel. So that's a nice little robot design. Now, on the side, now I think that these are all supposed to be spark plugs, but there's no paint on them whatsoever, but I'm pretty sure that they're supposed to be spark plugs. On the back here, you have like these fans. I think they're fans or they're buttons. I don't even know. That's all the same right there. Even here, I even counted like the number of like slits on this thing. It matches the original one. Down here, this bottom piece has these 3 little bolts sticking out. That it has that. Now over here, now this is where I'm talking about like the paint, right? You know, this paint looks really good. It's a nice metallic paint, but it's thick and it's soft, and it's so thick down here that there's a glob, and it actually covers up this detail a little bit. So that is, you know, not the coolest thing in the world, but what can you do? If you look at the actual number of ridges, I'm pretty sure they are all present on the original one too. So, you know, that's just crazy. You know, these guys are, you know, possibly even more obsessive than I am about, you know, making sure this guy matches the original one perfectly. Well, just the number of details anyway. Now here you get into the arms, and here is where I think that, like, again, like the proportions get a little, you know, they're all there. All the details are there. Just the proportions don't look as nice as they do on the original one. It's kind of like when, you know, you're learning to draw and you're trying to copy like somebody else's drawing, and you know you have all the details there, but the proportions are just a little off, you know. And you could have an almost perfect copy of somebody's drawing, but just because you like kind of like skewed something or changed something just a little bit, it like changes the overall look of the entire piece. I think that some places on the arm here you kind of have that going on, most notably the bicep. But we'll talk about these shoulders first. These ridges are a lot. They're more shallow on this brand new one. I do like the way that, you know, in general the body looks here. Like, I like that you have like these metal arms and they kind of go into the shell like that. Like it actually looks like different pieces put together. Where on the original one, you know, it just kind of looked like that arm is just stuck on there. So this one, it looks like it's a little more thought out. The vents up here are pretty cool. You know, like I said, this original one, they kind of put the shell down a little bit and left a bunch of space up here, like the collar area. And the original Metalhead had no neck, so he just kind of has these wires sticking into his head. This one, they at least kind of, put these wires along his neck. Now, you could possibly question if his neck is a little too long, but, that's up to you. Oh, look at that. There's another rub, like right there on the inside of his shell. That is no good. I don't know if that's been there the whole time or what. All right, so moving on, arms. All right, so if you look at the original arm, one thing you'll notice is that Metalhead's got huge biceps. He looks like a strong robot. He looks like he's going to be able to crush the foot soldiers or crush the Ninja Turtles, whichever side you want them to be on, This brand new one, his biceps are so small. He's like they don't look dynamic really at all, which is very unfortunate because I feel like, a lot of those, like especially like the Ninja Turtles in this line, like if you look at like Mikey's biceps and his forearm muscles, like they're gigantic. And this Metalhead, his arms are just kind of small compared to them. And I think that like some of the problem is like the details too. Because his arm is like so straight and you don't really have much of a bicep or a bulge or anything like that, like these wires are like completely straight. So it's not very dynamic, and it's kind of like, I don't know, like boring or something like that. Like where this one looks like, in your face and very cool looking. So I think that's like kind of a disappointment for me, the muscles. Especially like in the front here. Like if you look at the, like this black box on like the peak of his bicep, like it fills in the peak like perfectly. Like the shape looks great. It all makes sense. Even this little bar on the side of the bicep, that all looks good. But then if you look at the brand new one and you look at that box, how it fills in the peak of his bicep, like it's just kind of weirdly shaped. Like even the bicep itself is kind of strange because it's like kind of bulges at the top and you kind of have like a big slant on the bottom. Where this one, it just looks very like I don't know. It looks better. But, however, I will say this, that if you look inside of this black box, you have like two horizontal bars, and then below that you have 3 vertical bars. And you have that on this brand new one too. And if you look at the other arm, he has diagonal bars. And if you look at this new one, he has diagonal bars on that side too. So, can you even see that? It's very tough, he's very dark. If you look at the elbow pads, I think the original one, the elbow pad almost looks kind of like a yellow tube, like some kind of tubing that you would use to put on the end of your gutter or something like that. Something a little robotic. But this brand new one, it looks kind of like almost like it's cloth or something like that. It doesn't have those like deep like indents or anything like that really kind of makes it look like plastic. If you look at the arm or the forearm, a lot of those shapes and a lot of the colors are present, That looks good. You have the black and then the gray on the bottom left. That all matches. This is a cool design here. On the original one, you kind of have like diagonal bars on this part of the forearm. In this brand new one, they kind of like made this look like a vent. You have all these diagonal lines, but the dark color really makes it stand out and looks really cool. On this side of the arm, you kind of have like some triangles, and you kind of have like this box underneath. The original one kind of has that, or like it does have that too. It has all those details, and they all look fine. Now, one thing that they didn't do, which is kind of surprising since they kind of matched everything else so perfectly, was this one bar on the forearm is green on the original one, and they did not paint that green on this brand new one. Not to mention that there's also like a texture inside of there. It's kind of like a porous texture or something. So that's not there for some reason. And then the other arm does not have the, it doesn't have that vent. It has the Metalhead lightning bolt, which just looks awesome. It looks very nice painted here. It's on the original one, but it's not painted. But it looks really, really cool. I like, Like, just so many things about Metalhead's design is really, really awesome. Um, Again, this side not painted green. That bar. Now his hands, they have the same number of like black bolts, but I kind of prefer the original one. I kind of prefer how they're smaller and more like spread apart. This one, they're kind of like right on top of each other. The legs look really cool. Um, the original one didn't have these like bolts painted silver or anything like that, but this brand new one does. If you look at, like, I always really thought his legs looked really cool, especially like these knee designs. Like, there's just something about them that looks really neat. It also kind of reminds me of like the robots in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Do you see that too? Like, I don't know. There's something about it that kind of reminds me of that. All right. So if you look at the shape of the original leg, if you look at it this direction, it almost kind of looks like a rounded triangle. Like, I don't. Do you see that? Like, it's a triangle, but the sides are all rounded, right? It's a very specific shape. This brand new one just kind of has rounded thighs. So that is a difference. You see that? um, all of the details are present here, but like I said, there are some things where like textures are kind of missing. Like here, you have like all these little like dents or something like that, or like it looks like a very like spongy, but it's not spongy because he's made out of metal kind of material. But this, they're just all flat. You have like the vents on the back of the legs; those look cool. I like this knees. Like the knee. I like how you have kind of like these sideways cylinders, and then you kind of have like the indent on the edges. Like, to me, that is a very cool looking knee joint. I like that a lot. So down here in the calf area, like I feel like that this section of his calf is like way too big. Like I feel like it's emphasized, like it's too. I don't like it's just a big chunk of very flat area. And like that's the only place on his body that's kind of like that. So it kind of sticks out to me. The original one doesn't have that, it's a little smaller, a little sleeker, whatever. But this is, it really, really stands out a little bit. So, that's just, like I said, could be just kind of like me nitpicking about something that's a little different. I also kind of think that it looks a little too large because like your thighs should be or wider than your calves, but this kind of looks like it's possibly wider than the thighs. So to me, that's just a little strange. I like that they painted this area down here, this yellow. That looks good. I like that you have like the wire on the back of the knee. The only thing about this wire is that I have no faith in this wire. This wire is going to break. It's only a matter of time before this rips or cracks or breaks or whatever. But it's going to happen. Possibly would have been better if they would have used like an actual wire. Like this is almost like a rubber. It's very soft, and like I'm afraid to even bend the leg because I just think that this is going to rip out. This is not long for this world. It's only a matter of time. So if you look here, if you look at this lightning bolt, that's a very cool looking lightning bolt. And then if you look at the other side, it's mirrored. On the original one, they just kind of went the same direction, So, in my opinion, what I think they did was, and I'm sure that this is how they're making a lot of these toys nowadays, is that, they digitally sculpted this leg, and then they just copy-pasted and mirrored it to this side. So, sometimes, like, I understand that, like, we're in the future, and, like, a lot of these things are being sculpted that way, digitally. But I also kind of think that, that takes away a little bit of like the human touch. Like it can be like too perfect. So, I don't know. That's just me complaining. The feet look really good. Although some details are lacking a little bit. Like I feel like these lines are a little different. They come across a little different than the original one. But in general, they are pretty nice. They are kind of like flat-footed, like the arch on top of the foot is very flat compared to that original one. So, you know, in general, this is a pretty awesome toy, and you know, I'm just kind of nitpicking as much as I can here. I don't know if it sounds like I'm complaining or being too negative or whatever, you know. Like, I'm not complaining about this. I think this Metalhead figure looks awesome, you know. I think this is great. You know, I just figured that, you know, some people might be interested in seeing just how, like, one-to-one he compares to that original Metalhead from, geez, like 30 years ago. So, you know, like I said, I think this thing looks amazing. You know, don't take this as me, like, dumping on this guy, because really, he's as cool as you can get. The articulation on the 1989 Metalhead is pretty simple, but, you know, it works. We were all happy when we were kids just to have a few moving parts, just as long as he can punch the villains in the face, you know, it was all good. So his head will swivel all the way around. His arms can swivel all the way around, and mine's a little tight. I think that this is the Metalhead that I got in my like my big TMNT lot that I bought off of somebody. And, you know, they barely played with their toys, so, you know, I'm just a little careful with these guys. They have a cut in their elbow, so you can swivel their hands all the way around. And Metalhead's cool, too, because you can actually pop these hands off and replace them with his accessory. All you gotta do is pull that. There you go. You know, I remember lots of times as a kid you'd break like your Ninja Turtle hands, but Metalhead is the one that you can actually remove them, no problem. He's got ball jointed hips, so you can turn them every direction that you can. I would just be careful, you know, these get brittle after a while. And that's it. The brand new Ultimates Metalhead has the same articulation that the brand new Ninja Turtles have. You know, some of the Ultimates figures don't have some of these points of articulation like bicep cuts, but Metalhead has it because he's kind of like the Ninja Turtle. I mean, they have Mikey in this wave. Technically, you know, Super 7 said that they wanted to have a turtle in every wave. That's why Samurai Leo is coming out in wave 5. You could add Metalhead as the turtle. You know, he's not one of the main four, but like he's built pretty much the exact same proportions and whatnot as the Ninja Turtle. So, all right, so his head can spin all the way around. You have a ball joint in there. You have some limitations of how far up and down you can look. His shoulders swivel all the way around. There's also a hinge in there, so you can, you know, rotate them out about this much. You have a bicep cut, so you can spin that around. I just be careful because, you know, details, and you don't want to accidentally scrape some of the paint off your shell. You have single elbow joints. There's a hinge, and there's also a swivel. Although the swivel, it seems pretty tight. All right, the hands can swivel all the way around, and they also have a hinge. Now, unlike the original Metalhead, you don't actually pull the arm off to put his Robo chucks on. You just replace the hand. You know, the Robo chucks plug in there. So we'll take a look at that more when we want to get into accessories. He has ball jointed hips, and they rotate forward. You can rotate it this direction, and there's a cut here in the hip joint. I would just be careful because, like, these, if you look at like the peg that connects this ball joint to the pelvis, it is very thin. So if you're like trying to get this to turn, you want to be very careful because I feel like that could snap in the future at some point. Inside the turtle shell, the lower torso has like a joint, so you can kind of have him rock back and forth, and you can also rotate him around a little bit. It's a little stiff though, it's not the easiest thing. You have single jointed knees, and they can swivel around, but you need to be careful. Oh my goodness, you gotta be careful because that thing is gonna, you know, you want to make sure that does not snap. And then it has a hinge so you can rotate. See that? Like, oh man, that makes me nervous. The ankles have a hinge, and you also have ankle rockers. Recently, I watched the interview that Toy Bro had with Kyle from Super 7, and in that video, Kyle talked about how you know, they didn't make this Metalhead giant compared to the Ninja Turtles because one of the workers at Super 7, you know, always thought the Metalhead was kind of like the robotic brother of the Turtles, like when they were a kid, they always just kind of imagined that he kind of fit in, like he was the fifth turtle. And I can respect that, I can respect you wanting to make this toy line what you had when you were a kid. For me, I always kind of imagine Metalhead just being kind of bigger and, like a menace, sort of like in Turtles in Time and in the cartoon. But, like I said, I can respect that decision. So let's just kind of see how he scales with the Ninja Turtles. For one thing, he's like a little taller than Mikey here. I think just because his neck is a little taller than him. The size of the shell is pretty much exactly the same. Even in the back here, it's pretty much almost exactly the same. Just maybe a little bigger because of the just how it's designed. The arms, they're all pretty much the same. Although, like I said earlier, I wish that he had like bigger biceps to match this Michelangelo. And the legs, they are all the same. So, he fits in, like he scales with them almost perfectly. Even the size of his head is very similar to this Mikey. Now we get to talk about accessories, and first we're going to begin by talking about Metalhead's weapons rack. Now I think that this is a pretty awesome weapons rack because, this has the Metalhead theme, I'm glad that they didn't just try to give him the wooden, weapons racks that the Ninja Turtles has. Like, this matches him. Like, even some of these symbols on here, like that's on the back of Metalhead's shell. It even has like these electric bolts or lightning bolts. That's really awesome. Metalhead, he did come with two different types of Robo Chucks. Only one is present here, the one that he can hold in his hands, or that can be plugged into the... I don't know, we'll see. When we look at this, we'll see if you can plug that into the top here. And then you have like the all this other cool stuff. Now, here's one thing though. You have this unpainted party pack, and there's no straps. So, like, what's the point? In my opinion, these weapons racks, like, I don't know if people are actually pulling these apart. I assume some people are, reliving their childhood by pulling apart the weapons racks. But for me, these are, like, this to me is like the accessory. This is the whole thing. This is just kind of like the thing that you have to pull out and look at this whole thing together. Like, I don't know. Now, I do have the original Metalhead on card. So, as you can see here, he did not have a weapons rack. None of these bits and pieces are connected at all. But, what's cool about this, too, is as we get to these different parts, we'll read and see what the back of this box says about each one of them. Alright, so first up, we have the portable party pack. Metalhead's party pack is crammed with pizza, pop. What is this, Western Pennsylvania? I live in Eastern Pennsylvania. We call that soda here. Video games... and a gutter blaster for sewer slamming. It's topped off with a scum-seeking radar, foot blaster. Just plug the party pack in the Metalhead shell, snap down his shoulder straps, and it's party time. So as you can see, the brand new portable party pack is a lot bigger than the original portable party pack, but all the details are exactly the same. Like, it looks great, and I really like how there's kind of like a metallic green highlight on a lot of these bits and pieces, like this circle here, this little, capsule-looking piece right there. Even like these little handles on these pizza trays. That's where he keeps all of his pizza. It must be a small pizza, unless it goes all the way into the back of a shell. And these knobs here. Even the picture is very similar. That, though, I think looks a lot more like a foot soldier than this one does. I can't really make out who or what that's supposed to be. On this side, you just have another circle there. And, like, even here, these little tiny bolts or caps, they all have that little green highlight. Now, like, as I was talking about the pack on the weapons rack... that had that like little tiny square there with a circle. Here it looks like these straps are actually plugged in and probably glued into place. So that's cool. On the front, well, on the inside here, all these details match up pretty perfectly. That's great too. The biggest difference being where the peg is that goes into the back of Metalhead. This one is on the bottom and this one's in the middle. So, that is all cool. Just like the original one, this portable party pack comes in two pieces, you have the radar or the foot blaster. I mean, that's very similar. I mean, what are you going to say about that? It looks exactly the same. Putting the portable party pack on the original Metalhead is pretty easy. I mean, you just plug it in the back and you're able to just pull the straps right into place. Very easy. As I mentioned many times in this video, you know, you got to be careful with the paint of this brand new Metalhead. So I'd be careful when you're doing this, especially like you don't know if these straps will scrape the paint or anything like that. So I would just carefully plug it in the back and then just kind of pull it up and into place. Be very careful. There we go. Very nice. If you look at the original Metalhead toy, you'll see that the portable party pack, you know, fits snug right up against the back of his head. Like it's, you know, like I would possibly pretend, you know, that there was some kind of wires or something like that going directly into the back of his head from this portable party pack. I'm also getting tired of saying it. This brand new one, you know, it sits further back. It's not right up against his head. So, you know, if you dislike or like that, you know, that's up to you. It's not a deal breaker, you know, but it's definitely a difference worth mentioning because he kind of has a different type of silhouette. All right, so if you want to put the radar in the top here, on the original figure, it fits in there pretty snug. You know, you don't really have much give. Looks awesome. On this brand new one, it fits in there really well too, and again, it looks awesome. The only thing I would really mention is that it is pretty loose in that it turns around really easy, and if you turn them upside down, it'll fall out. So, you know, it's not as snug as the original one. Up next, we get to talk about the Radical Robo Chucks. Pop out his forearm, plug in his Robo Chucks, and watch Metalhead jackhammer the foot. Alright, so first we're going to talk about the Robo Chucks with the bigger handle. You know, he can hold this one in his hand. As you can see, the brand new one matches the original one perfectly. Even the number of ridges inside of the Robo Chucks, they're exactly the same. This is pretty cool. And what's really nifty, pretty awesome too, is that the top here can actually turn around. So that is pretty cool too, because you can, you know, pretend that it's spinning and hitting foot soldiers in the face. Now, this is one of those things too where, you know, as a spoiled brat, and, you know, I really love the, like the spinning nunchucks that like Michelangelo has, or like the Ultimates Panthro. You know, it'd be awesome if you actually had a disc like that you could put on this. You know, I think that would have been awesome. So, you know, that's not necessarily, like, to me, that's not a negative that they didn't include that. But if they would have included that, you know, that would have elevated this to, like, you know, a really high degree. Like, it would have been really awesome. This, too, also has, like, some painted highlights. Like these little circles there, they have that like metallic, brighter green, and it just looks really cool. In order to hold this cool RoboChuck, Metalhead needs some gigantic gripping hands. Like these are really big, they almost seem a little too big. And if you put this, you know, in the regular part of the hand, it's kind of, you know, slide and stuff like that. So what you got to kind of do is kind of squeeze it in through the pinky finger a little bit. That way he gets like a tighter grip. Lots of times I like to display my Metalhead actually holding the RoboChucks like this. That way I can actually have him complete, you know, on my shelf. Yeah, so that's fine. Oh, now when I was a kid, I used to like to put the RoboChucks in the top of the portable party pack and pretend that it was like a helicopter. Which is another reason why I think it would be cool if you had that, like, you know, disc kind of rotating nunchuck on top of there. You can put this, the RoboChucks in that hole, but you kind of have to squeeze these in a little bit. It's not like the radar, you know, it just doesn't pop in there. This one actually pops in and out really easy. You know, like it's a perfect fit. All right, so in order to remove the original Metalhead's arm, it's a little tricky. You know, you don't want to accidentally rip that peg. That is something that could happen that you don't want to happen, you know. I think I possibly did that as a kid. You would break these arms, and then the peg would be stuck in there, and then you couldn't put anything in there again, which was awful. But you can easily pop that in place. That looks really cool. The brand new Metalhead works a little differently because you don't actually remove the whole forearm. You just remove the hands. I mean, and that just pops out really easy. And yeah, there's a little peg there. So there you go. So this whole thing doesn't twist now. Now you can just rotate this one. So this one is differently. It's made specifically to fit in his wrist like that. You know, it's got a different system. You're not going to get this in there unless you really... Maybe if you got a drill and you drill a bigger hole, then you can put that one in there. But no. This is the one that matches. And this one, too, the Robo chucks actually spin around. So that is really, really cool. So I think that the visual of either Metalhead is pretty cool when you have these Robo chucks attached to either the elbow or the wrist. I'm not sure which one I prefer or like better. I mean, Metalhead always kind of like changes his hands into different things in the cartoon or like video game and stuff like that. So the hand one kind of makes more sense. But, you know, when it's attached to his elbow, it also kind of makes him look a little more sturdy or something like that. So I don't know. What do you think? Up next, you have the special robotic feature. Hold Metalhead's head up to the light to activate his radical glowing eyes. Now, I did talk about this a little bit earlier, that the original figure had very translucent eyes and that, you know, it did not take much to actually get those eyes to glow. And I wanted to talk about how, like, this brand new one, you know, not only do you have this head where you can get the eyes to glow, it's just a little tricky, but he actually comes with an extra head, right? So you have this head with the translucent glowing eyes, and Metalhead also includes this extra head where the eyes are painted red, and the brain on top is painted red, and that actually looks pretty cool because it's a little brighter than the translucent red. So, like, I could see why you possibly might want to use this one instead of the translucent ones, because if you just have this on the shelf and you don't have a light above his head or anything like that, you know, maybe this red will show up a lot easier, you know, maybe it'll be a little bit more noticeable. If you have this translucent head, the eyes are a little dark. So I don't know, I mean, I'll probably display him with the translucent brains and eyes, but I don't know. This is neat too. I like how the brains here, the paint makes them look like bloody. That's to me, that is cool. Now we get to talk about the brand new items. First, Metalhead comes with 2 loose grenades. They're painted pretty similar to the grenades on his belt, except that the like the pin area and this like handle area, they're actually silver. The ones on his belt are just completely green. Can he hold these okay in his hands with these giant gripping hands? Yes, he can. He can hold them very well. So that is good. You know, it's always awful when you get a figure and you can't even, like, put the weapon in his hand. Can you plug this on the belt? Oh, come on. Almost lost it there. Can you put it on the belt? You probably might be able to if you bend this clip out, but I'm not going to bend it because, I don't know, just not going to. Maybe you can kind of, I don't know. You could possibly do it, but it's not working just out of the box for me. Next up, we have this very awesome accessory. I love this extra hand. I think it's great. I love how the tip of the finger there is kind of like, you know, it's still attached to the finger, but it's just hanging off of there so this wire can come out and grab whoever he wants to grab. Unfortunately, this, you know, it won't really grab them because it's just kind of plastic or rubber or vinyl, and it'll just kind of go back in place. But it just looks really cool, and, you know, you could pretend that he's like, you know, scratching Mikey's back from afar. You know, that's cool. No, I like this a lot, actually. This is actually an item that, you know, NECA should have included with their Metalhead, their cartoon Metalhead, because he actually uses this in the cartoon, you know, and it's pretty cool that Super7 is including accessories with these guys that, only appeared in the cartoon or the video game. It's cool that they're not just kind of sticking to just the toys. It's nice for them to expand. I think since these are all Ultimates figures, they should be expanding and giving you lots of really cool things that you wish you had when you were a kid, but you just didn't. And it's just a very neat looking accessory, and I like it a lot. Metalhead has 3 sets of hands. I think all of them are great, and I think all of them are definitely needed. You're going to want to use a lot of these. First, you have the gripping hands. Now, these have like a very big grip, so you're pretty much going to put the Robo chucks in his hands, and probably that's about it, unfortunately, because they are too big. If you're going to put any other kind of weapons in his hands, they're just going to be sliding all over the place. Next, you have the open palm hands, or the reaching hands, or the grabber hands, or I like to call them the expressive hands, because you can usually get like some pretty good expressions. It really adds a nice flair of life to your figure when you're trying to pose them. All life forms on planet Earth must be destroyed and replaced with robots. Yes, that sounds good. Metalhead, what? What? Metalhead has a set of fists, but I'm sorry, they're cool and all, but Rocksteady's just way too big. I think even with these metal hands, even if he was punching him right in the face, this Rocksteady would just tear this guy in half. So let's take a quick look at Metalhead next to some of the different Ninja Turtle lines going on right now. Here he is next to some of the Fred Wolf series, and this is actually a pretty decent mix. I don't really see anything here that's making it look like he doesn't fit in with them, other than he's lacking the black lines. Other than that, I think he fits in really well with these action figures. He doesn't really fit in with the NECA movie series because he doesn't have the same kind of painted detail or paint quality that those other figures have, and his colors are pretty bright. But I would imagine if you did a custom paint job on him, added a wash or something like that, and added some dry brushing, you could possibly make him fit in with them. I mean, some things are a little cartoony, but maybe you could get something to work with this. Here he is next to some of the NECA Mirage figures. Metalhead was never in the original Mirage comic books. There's actually a different character who's not even a robot or anything. Actually is a robot. But there's a completely different character in Mirage comic books named Metalhead. But again, much like the movie figures, I think if you wanted to, you could add some black detailing to this guy, and you could make him fit in with these guys. Here's the last comparison that I wanted to show. All of these Ninja Turtle toys were released between 1988 and 1990, the latest being Mutagen. And if you watch any of my Wave 3 videos, you will see the same exact dissolve. I just wanted to include this because I think it's pretty awesome. So these are all the toys that were released back when we were all wee ones, and here are the brand new Super 7 Ultimates figures. This is crazy. I think the Mouser's been smoking. He's the only one that's shrunk. This wouldn't be an ultimate review without a ultimate comparison of Metalhead with his past Metalhead action figures, So first you have Metalhead here next to the original 1989 Metalhead. Now, I spent about 45 minutes talking about this guy and saying about how awesome he was and just comparing the two of them, so, he doesn't need to be up there for very long. Metalhead was not in the 2003 cartoon. I'm not sure if this character actually appeared in the cartoon or not. I just always remember this toy being out at the time, and there was also going to be a Dreamwave comic book with this character, but then the Dreamwave comic series got canceled, and the Turtlebot story never came out. So this is Turtlebot. He is not Metalhead, although for me at the time, and even now, I'm like, well, this is the 2003 Metalhead. I mean, it's essentially the same exact thing, just a different type of robot. This toy is actually cool because you can open up the back and you see the engine or the inner workings of this robot. So that's pretty cool. Let's get him out of there. Up next we have the Metalhead from the 2012 series. And this metalhead was a lot different than the other metalheads because he was like tiny in the cartoon. I think wasn't he like only up to like Donatello's belt or something like that? Like he was very small. It's been a while since I watched him, but he's okay. This is my son's toy. I don't have one. All right, now the final. This is like the final comparison, the big bout. This is the one that when this Ultimates figure was released, I was like, ooh, I really want to see how he looks next to the NECA Metalhead. And there you go. It's pretty awesome looking. There are some things about each of these metalheads that I like more than the other one. I like the detail and the gold paint of the Super 7 one, even like pretty much just all the detail. I love all the detail and the glowing eyes. That's cool. However, I like that the NECA one has the ability where you can open up his chest and you can like stick the gun into his pecs, Like I wish that they could have like combined this, like added some more of these like kind of cool robotic features to the Super 7 Metalhead. That would have been pretty awesome. You don't need like the on-off switch on the back of this metalhead because he's kind of got like a different thing going on, but I don't know. Like I said, having the gun in the front is a really cool feature that I wish they could have did something like that here. But I'm not going to complain. This Ultimates figure is pretty awesome. I think they did a great job. But if you were wondering how these guys look together, well, there you go. And that's it. There really aren't that many more Metalhead figures. He's not like Michelangelo or Raphael. There's not like 1,000 of them. This brand new Metalhead is like a sight to be seen. The amount of detail on this toy is just awesome. I'm glad that Super 7 is making every single one of these Ninja Turtles like their own unique figure. Like for the longest time, like I was thinking like how are they going to make Ultimates? Because like He-Man toys, like the Masters of the Universe classics, that series was just kind of like recreating the same toy over and over again. They would add like new bits and pieces for every character and they kind of reuse them. It's amazing to see Super 7 make this Ultimates line and to make like these super intricately detailed unique figures in each line. That's crazy. That's why you're only getting 4 characters per wave, and that's why they're so expensive. But in a way, to me, that's exciting. This line is very exciting, and I love what they're doing. And I think this Metalhead figure is great. They copied all that detail like crazy people, just like I wanted them to. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you think, and talk to you later.